Another Titan walks.
Spiking bits.
The Reaver Battle Titan is here to add to your Adeptus Titanicus forces, and I guess give you a reason to actually move stuff around the table, because playing with the starter box gets a little stagnant at first. Let's just say that, because it's all about positioning and getting behind cover, and then there really isn't much room or much reason to kind of walk around, but that's okay. With the Reaver Battle Titan, and of course the Warhounds that should be out by the end of the year, I would imagine, we'll start seeing a little bit more dynamic elements get added back to the game, and hopefully we get some sort of expansion giving us more Legion rules as well, because 2 Legions just aren't going to do it either, I feel like. Now, I will be upfront with, so this is a $60 kit from Games Workshop. It looks, looking through the instructions, it's basically the same way you build the Titan from Forge World. I was really surprised. I was like, oh, that's literally how it goes together from Forge World. So either they originally designed this in 3D and just kind of adjusted a few things and got them over to plastic, or they kind of reverse engineered it from the resin ones, resin masters, and kind of put it into 3D. But either way, it holds true. If you put one of these together, if you've seen one of these from Forge World, it definitely holds very true to the styling and the feel of the model itself. Now, I will also tell you that if you just pick up this box, you cannot play with it right out of the box. You're going to need a command terminal. So if you don't have the starter, you're definitely going to need a command terminal, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And if you're going to have multiples, well, if you got the starter box, you have 2 command terminals. You have a set of war gear cards. However, all the war gear cards that are in existence, the options for this model, there aren't options for the war gear. This is exactly how it comes. Well, actually, no, you get this one too. So you get the fist, you get the Gatling blaster, the laser blaster, and the Apocalypse missile launcher. What you don't get, unfortunately, is the chain fist, the turbo laser destructor, which is actually upside down on the top carapace here, a warp missile support pack, which go up there, the melta cannon, the Vulcan mega bolter as well that goes up on the top, Reaver, but these will definitely be in the Warhound box, because that's how the Warhound comes. So I mean, in theory, you can do maybe get a little creative. Probably not, actually, now that I think about how they're going to engineer it based on the Forge World one. These have to be kind of sculpted differently to socket into there. And of course the volcano cannon, not the Bellicosa, just the baby volcano cannon. I say normal like it's so much destruction, oh my gosh. So these are not, you don't get bits for those in here. Now, the way the sprues are set up, and it's a great looking kit, miniature wise. Now we kind of figured what size it would be on. We reverse engineered the base size, because I was just like kind of trying them all out. I was like, well, what size base does the arc fit up to? And sure enough, it fit up to the 105 oval, so we kind of figured that one out early. But it is on the 105, the large cab, so to speak. You get the instruction manual, makes sense. You get the normal decal sheet, also makes sense. Nothing new there. But then you get these 3 sprues of parts for this, and this is where I think, we're gonna see some upgrade sprues from Games Workshop, like maybe upgraded weapons pack, because you've got all of the weapons on a nice, neat little spot right here. This is all leg stuff and shoulder and arm stuff. So just like we saw with the Warlord, and maybe with the Warhounds too, I'd have to go back and look at the pictures from Warhammer Fest. They can put out just like an upgrade sprue of just, upgrades to your kits, or maybe just like a bundle where you get one of each or something. I don't know exactly, but 122 parts approximately on these sprues here, and of course you're going to get the different shoulder pads and top carapaces, and I think there's only one. Yep, there's only one chest plate there, and then it goes on down from there for the normal stuff. So we definitely have potential that we're going to see more kits for both the Reaver and the Warlord, and I suppose we'll know more. I should have already looked at the Warhound, but that's pretty much where we're at. And if you're familiar with the Forge World, you can kind of look at these sprues real quick and be like, hey, this looks very familiar here. You had to put a lot of these parts on separately. All the pistons are going to be separate, and that's going to be a hoot. Of course, we're going to build it here in a second. But yeah, it looks to be very, very true to the original Forge World one, and I can't wait to kind of jump into it. But let's preview it real quick. and just kind of see if there's going to be any gotchas, so to speak, here. So there's the pistons and the legs, and that's all pretty standard stuff. I think most of us have seen that if we're familiar with the Forge World stuff. And the armor plates are going to be on separate, so I don't think I'll glue those down. We'll paint those up with some sweet Storm blues. Top carapace, of course, is going to be separate. Looks like there's a little bit of an interior cavity here, like we saw with the actual model from Forge World as well. Not as well detailed, and there's no tech priest in there either. The head also has a top carapace that I suppose you could detail it out in miniature, but that's really small. Looks like a typo right there. That is not the Titan Power Fist. That's the Apocalypse Missile Launcher, which I think is great because it has a 360 firing arc. Great for popping void shields wherever you're looking. And Titan Power Fist, of course, Gatling Blaster. Yep, checks out. The little nubs to attach them to the arm sockets. Laser Blaster. And boom, there it is. Or you can go reverse side. You have to cut the nub off depending on what you're doing, it looks like. Okay, pretty straightforward. I get it. Let's get this bad boy clipped off and tell you if there's any gotchas or anything else that you may want to look out for, or anything we just think is kind of neat. And about 2 hours later, out pops this beautiful new Titan. So obviously he missed some legs days right there. So it took about 2 hours to get this guy together, air quotes, properly, trimming down all the correct flash and sizing everything up. Now you can see you get a little bit more sense of scale with the base that he is on right here, and then compared to, like, I think he's about the same size as Bobby G, although I can't find my Bobby G. All I have is Baller Serious, and well, he's definitely bigger than Baller Serious. So we'll go with the Dreadnought. That should give you a pretty good representation of exactly how big he is. And then when we put him up against his compatriot, or his big brother in this right here, you can kind of see a little bit better exactly how big he is. So he comes up to the shoulders of the Warlord, and his little buddy, the Knight, is about up to his kneecaps right there, which seems to be about normal there. Now, the build was fantastic. There are a bunch of gotchas. I'm going to try to remember and show you as many of those as possible. Now, the weapons, I mean, they did a great job really recreating these. So check this out. So I did magnetize these, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I want to show you how true to everything these are. So here's the, what is this? The turbo laser? I forget what. This is, oh, the laser blaster. So here's the laser blaster. You can kind of get a good look at it all the way around, and this part actually pops off right here. You don't have to glue it down. I left a lot of the armor plates off. That's why he's got skinny legs right there. So I left that off. Now here's the actual full size, same laser blaster for the Reaver Titan right here. Same part. Look at this. It's amazing. I mean, it doesn't have the same divot right there to put it on, but this is literally all goes together the same with the same little three-way piece right there to attach it to. So I mean, even the, let me reattach this because we're going to talk about magnets here in a second. Even the Apocalypse Mega launcher right here, faithfully recreated. And by the way, you can still use the same magnets, 5mm by 1mm that you used on your Warlord. There it is right there. There's the top carapace weapon, and this is all I can show you without reconfiguring the camera. But believe me, there's a lot more similarities and very things that are exact. There was, I mean, if you're like, wow, you know, super into it, there is a piece right here inside this carapace that they did not. There's supposed to be another armor plate right there on the Forge World one, and it looks like they just kind of put that little socket right there, and it works just fine. I mean, there's no drawback to it. So let me pull these off and kind of show you some of the gotchas. First biggest gotcha that you need to know about is these feet. Let's zoom in a little bit. Much better. So these feet right here are cantered a certain way. So you see how this is pointed up and out, pointed up and out. Be very careful when you put those on, because otherwise it'll look kind of silly if you don't. Now the little pistons lock into the armor plates like this, and we just left them off because I figured I'd just hit them with the airbrush real quick and then glue them on. And then the armor plates here go around them pretty easily as well. They lock in right below the kneecap, kind of like this. So everything just kind of works together and fits, but we're going to leave those off because those are obviously going to get painted separately. Another gotcha too that you need to be aware of, and I know a lot of people had an issue apparently with the legs for the Warlord Titan. Let me get in here and get some light on this for you. Is you're going to want to be careful of how you angle the hips down to the kneecaps right here, and how you kind of set the walking pose. Be very careful with that. The instructions tell you to glue this together. Before you glue this together, I feel like you need to build it up from here first and then lock it in. It was a little bit difficult, but not too bad. And then these wires are each separate entities that just go up into, and of course you can't see it because I put it on here, but just go up into, I don't know, like the abyss up in here. There's just a cavern, and you just kind of like throw some glue up in there and hope it sticks, basically. But long story short, it's actually pretty easy to do. But just be aware that there really isn't anything for them to grab onto. So once you get one locked in with some glue, then just kind of start stacking the rest onto it right there. But make sure the rest, make sure the rest of your stuff is locked in, otherwise you'll rip them apart. And then of course the bridge deck right here isn't, you know, there's no detail like there is on the full scale one from Forge Roll, but that being said, it's really no big deal. I mean, it's not like something that we would actually paint. The design is such, and I really appreciate how Games Workshop did this, is that there was very little flash to actually scrape off, because most of the places there would be flash, and there was some on the pistons right here, but that was about it. The places there would be flash, you actually assembled together, which was kind of crazy. Ooh, that didn't work. We're gonna have to hit that with a little bit of glue right there. I didn't get that to line up quite right. So one of those things you just don't notice until you get it. Yeah, it looks like I gotta hit that with a little bit more. That's fine. So most of the time where there would be flash, there's actually a gap, and you apply glue and it's good to go. There's some gaps up here, the gaps right here, and most notably these gaps back here. So if you use a little bit of thin cement, you're going to be able to get in there, and you can see I used a little too much over here, but that's fine because it should be about dry now. It's taking so long. You should just be able to come in with your seam scraper or your X-Acto blade and just kind of scrape it, and it will have sealed that gap right there. So that looks to be good to go. It's just going to be a little shiny because of the material itself. Now, let's talk about future-proofing your Titan. There are little power feeds that go on the backs here, and it's modular, so depending on what side you decide to put your weapon on, there's these little feeds that go up into the back of the Titan. Now, these don't exist on the Forge World one, and to be quite honest, I wasn't sure what weapons I'm going to take because there's so many options. I mean, you saw all of these cards right here, right? And by the way, these are one of each, and I don't know if I said this at the beginning, one of each card for this Titan. So theoretically, you only have a choice of each weapon, half of which don't even come in this kit, from the starter box to equip your Reaver Titan. So just keep that in mind. So that's why I was like, you know what, I'm just going to magnetize everything, because I don't even know what I'm going to field, and I know that there's a lot more weapons to still come out. So it was a no-brainer to drop your 5mm magnet up here, which there's the recess, the countersunk spot right there, and that goes right into there. Super easy, and it's actually quite snug. You might not even need to magnetize it, but who knows with the additional weapons. There's going to be a Gatler and stuff to go up there too. But where it gets tricky is there's a power fist, and the power fist actually comes with, you can have the closed fist, which I thought was hilarious, so I picked it, or the open fist here. You can't make both because you still need the inside piece right there. So there's an open fist and a closed fist, and the thumbs to go with them. And depending on how you socket this in here, it only goes one way with the power feed. So I was like, well, okay. So I magnetized. I put the magnets up here, and I kind of took probably about 1/8 inch of material off right here and glued a magnet on. So here, I'll try to put it so you can line yours up on your screen and figure out where to cut your part, so that it's a good amount of material I had to cut off, because you got two 1mm magnets on there, so you actually need to cut off about at least 2mm of material. So that worked fine, but then I was like, well, wait a minute, what happens when I want to do dual shooty weapons over here? That's going to be a problem, because the fist will only fit there, and I'm not going to take two fists. Let's be real. What are we? We live in a society. We take these things to shoot, not to double power fist things. So I was like, okay, let's come up with a solution. So what I did was I actually drilled into here, into the bottom of the laser blaster right here. And you actually don't have to go very far, which was pretty incredible. So I just drilled right into there, put a magnet. I countersunk it, and that was actually my problem. You might not have to countersink it. You could probably just put a magnet on top because it ended up looking weird. So I countersunk into this piece, and you could probably just glue a magnet on top right there and be good to go. Now, what's cool about this is you can turn it. It doesn't matter what side of the Titan you're putting it on. So if there's upgrade sprues that come out with an extra piece, then, oh, cool. Well, now that extra piece, I just won't glue, I won't magnetize the bottom. So this is a modular weapon, right? So boom. So if I want to take it, and this one's just glued to the top right here. That's it. It's not glued right here because I know that, hey, if I get another one, I'll just put it on the other side. But if I want to field this and Mr. Punchy Fist, then I'm good to go right there. So I kind of locked into all of my options all together, or, you know, I field it like this. And there it is. I have a way to field every weapon that's come with, but also future-proof myself against any extra sprues and stuff that they're going to come out with in the future. So I thought that was probably one of the better ways to go. And then if you're going to airbrush all your parts, just make sure that you just kind of socket them on there with a little bit of blue tack. Some of them actually lock in as long as you don't knock them over, and, you know, make a video with them and all the parts start falling off right there. But other than that, I think it actually worked out quite well. There's a whole bunch more armor parts off camera that we're just gonna airbrush up with our Legio Storm colors and then glue down, and that's it. I mean, it takes about 2 hours plus magnets, you know, a little bit extra time right there. Already got hair, but yeah, that's the easiest way to future-proof your Titan against future expansions for the Reaver, and also give you options to field it right now on the tabletop. I suppose you could just proxy weapons right now, because who knows when they're going to come out with the next one, or maybe the weapons pack or something like that. So that is about, and I really hope this stuff they don't put these upgrades out for Forge World for obvious reasons, because then I guess I'm just never going to get the weapon and learn how to design things in 3D. Okay, soapbox rant off. Let's do this. If you like these type of videos, make sure to drop us a subscribe, turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our future videos.
Spiking bits.